And what's going on, crypto crew? This is Sean coming back at you with another cryptocurrency video. And what are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at something we've never quite looked at before: the median sales price of houses sold in the United States. So we know prices can vary in different parts of the world, but because the US dollar is owned by the US government, let's price homes in Bitcoin and see what makes sense. So if you want to check this chart out, you can go to TradingView. It's the MSPUS, median sales price of houses sold for the United States. We're looking at this on a weekly chart. And if you note, since 1963, this data goes all the way back to, we have some type of, just trend line, like a logarithmic trend that, it's not exactly a straight line, but you see it just goes up and to the right. So what's the next 10, 20 years going to look like? And can we denominate this in Bitcoin? Well, look here. Right now at the present time, the average or the median home price is 420.4K. Right here, we denominated this in Bitcoin. There's a lot going on in this chart, so we'll go over it with you and make it all make sense. So we drew some trends because the trend is your friend until the end. And basically, let's get rid of this Gaussian channel. Even though it does matter, we'll look at that in a little bit. You see homes priced in Bitcoin. What does this look like? This is on the weekly chart. Let's just explain this really quick. We see that homes have just been going down and to the right when the home price and dollar value goes up and to the right. So what does this really mean? This means that even the home that you buy or real estate that you invest in to earn a yield off of, the valuation of that home is depreciating against Bitcoin. Now, let's get rid of these blue lines. All I'm saying is, if you take a look at this, back in 2011, if you paid for a house in Bitcoin, scroll to the right, you see that this is about 90,000 Bitcoins for the median house price in the United States. And then look what happened during Bitcoin's first bull run. It went from 90,000 Bitcoins down to about 240 Bitcoins within a 2-year window. And that's a huge devaluation against home prices. So that means Bitcoin's getting stronger. So you see that we established this green trend line because, once again, the trend's your friend to the end. And we fell through this. And if we zoom into this price action, we can actually see when we came back up, we got rejected. We didn't come right back up. So this was some level of resistance, but then we came back and flipped resistance to support before having a continuation to the upside. Now, this continuation to the upside right here was when Bitcoin was going down. So this was a bear market. As you see, at the peak of the 2013 bull cycle, Bitcoin was roughly 240, or it took roughly 240 Bitcoins to purchase the median household in America. During that bear cycle, it went back up to about 1,400 Bitcoins. Okay, so then we have the next halving in 2016. The next halving, we'll denote these. They're every 4 years. Most people know that, but here's the 2016 halving, and the halving was sometime in 2017, but you see after every halving what happens. And then the 2020 halving was sometime around here, and then 2024, last year's halving, was sometime right around here. So you see these blue lines are denoting the Bitcoin halving price, and when we have that supply shock, what happens? Bitcoin runs up and runs hard against real estate. So we see after the 2016 halving, what happened? At the halving was about 552 Bitcoin. And then look what happened. We fell off a cliff. And we denoted this purple line because these are horizontal supports that we have to pay attention to, and resistance levels. So we came and hit this perfectly to 17 Bitcoins as far as the median valuation of homes in the United States. That was December of 17, and then look what happened. The bear market ensued, and it went back up to about 95. And we then established a downtrend, because if you see here, from this previous peak, when we flipped this to support, that acted as resistance right here, and resistance right here in 2019. So you got to just look at these trends, and these trends are your friend to the end. And you can just see that's obviously going down and to the right. So this was the bear cycle. Bitcoin had a rally in the summer of 2019. So that's why it went from 100 Bitcoins to 25 Bitcoins. Basically, then this was the pandemic dump here in 2020. And we went to about 67 Bitcoins. And look what happened around that same time, the Bitcoin halving. And then we had that supply shock. Boom. We went all the way down from 70 Bitcoins down to 6 Bitcoins as far as the average house valuation. Now we're starting to actually establish a channel, as you see right here. We hit the bottom, resistance, support, resistance, and this is where we are present day. So after we came down to the 6th level, this was the bear cycle of 2022, 2023. And look, we came up and tested that downwards resistance perfectly. And then look what happens. We rallied into the 2024 halving. And if that supply shock ensues, you see that we sort of have these white trend lines. Now, there's no rhyme or reason with these. It's just a trend. We have a trend up with these lines and then a trend down with the bold lines. And you see, if history is any indication of what's to come, this intersection of this lower support level is around April of 2025. So right at the end of Q1 of this year, start of Q2. Could we see Bitcoin rally going into April? And this all ultimately come down here. Look how far this goes down. Look to the right. 1.46 Bitcoins is going to be the average home price. Now, the cool thing about this is you can sort of extrapolate the MSPUS data, and you can see, okay, just take this linear regression, use ChatGPT, and you can see what's this home valuation based on history, because this is all historic data of actual median home valuations when they sold. What's this valuation on a given date? So what do? We use ChatGPT for this. So we seen that by 2026, the start of 2026, the expected price calculation based off of this entire chart here and the average rate of return is about 452,000. So if you look at this comparative, if Bitcoin goes to 452,000 by 2026, now we might get a bounce up here. If we come back down to this line, 2026 is probably going to be the bull market over with. You know, this time could be different, but you know, time will tell. But if we're between 1 and 2 Bitcoins, you can sort of see when 2026 starts here. If the average price is going to be 452, you can see that you take 452, let's get our calculator out. You take 452 at a high end, if you say, you know, Bitcoin's at 2, you divide this by 2, that's going to be roughly what the Bitcoin price could be, over $200,000. So you see where I'm going with this. So that's this current cycle we're in right now. If we have a bounce, we could go down to 1.5 in Bitcoin valuation and then rally back up to about maybe this resistance line, this purple line, and retest this, and it might coincide right here, September 2027 at 5.5 Bitcoins. And then in 2028, we get the next halving. And then what happens after every halving event? You know it. It comes back down. And look where we go next in 2029. 0.4 Bitcoins. 0.39 to be exact, where this intersects at. So what does this really mean? What can we calculate with this? March of 2029. Remember, we use ChatGPT to extrapolate this data. So if the average price value based off of historic data in March of 2029 is going to hit around 502,000, that's this chart right here. So this is going to, you know, by 2029 come up to 502,000. It could be more, it could be less, but it's a higher probability that's going to be more versus just at 502. But let's just use this and be conservative. 502,000. Let's get our calculator out again. You would take 502,000 and you would divide that by this down here. It was 0.39. And that would give you what the Bitcoin price would be. and you're looking at a 1.28, almost a $1.3 million Bitcoin by 2029. So there's a lot of caveats here. There's a lot of things to pay attention to. You have to, just look and see. I mean, it's obvious the trend's going down, so time is your friend. But, we could not maybe come down as sharp down to here, like, in most cycles where these lines intersect before. It could, if we zoom into this current price action, note the purple line. We bounced off it once, twice, so this is a strong level of support. We acted as support back here in 2021, and then we fell through it drastically. Could we come back up and retest this before then getting rejected and flipping support to resistance and then coming down? And could we go lower than 1.39 where this intersects? Could it go to 1.2? So you just got to pay attention to what happens. Every cycle isn't exactly the same. It doesn't exactly rhyme or repeat, but you get the drift. But this shows you, if you're looking for investment, now if you want to buy a home, you need a home to live in, different conversation. But if you don't have any skin in the game, you haven't accumulated that one whole Bitcoin yet, well, you might want to check this out because Bitcoin is going to outpace everything. Here's real estate. And with that, I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. If you guys like this content, go ahead and smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate each and every one of you. And with that, I'm out.